Hello world of YouTube and welcome to another episode of Redacted, the show where I take a look at records that have a solid foundation but a spotty execution and making a smoother listening experience out of it all. This month we are going to be bringing back an idea from the dirges of my shelf of shelved ideas in vein of the broad thematics I'm doing this year of giving ideas a second chance by taking a look at an idea for a Redacted I had started back during the year where I was doing the whole pop-focused Redacteds, where I did like Carly Rae Jepsen and Lady Gaga, along with pop-adjacent groups like Everything Everything and Blink-182, by taking a look at a record that definitely shaped my childhood to a large degree. A lot of my love of a certain brand of pop music definitely stems from this record, and when looking into the album, it actually has a little bit of an interesting story as to why it's even eligible for a Redacted, but I'll get into that when I discuss the album in particular. The album in question is an early 90s smash that definitely swept a lot of the airways to a large degree and was a large success for Swedish pop group Ace of Base. It is their 1993 debut, The Sign, or as it was also known in Europe, Happy Nation.
I will survive without you.
Yeah, for those who don't know, before they were sweeping the US in the early 90s with the album The Sign, which had hit after hit after hit after hit, they were already making waves in Europe with the release of an album called Happy Nation, which does crop up on The Sign itself, but looking at that album is sort of a good showcasing of the difference of both energies of the projects. Happy Nation as a record feels more like a Eurodance album with some cod pop reggae injected in there, while The Sign feels like the inverse. It feels like a cod pop reggae album with some Eurodance flavor thrown in. They even remixed some songs from Happy Nation on The Sign to fit more the energy that the band was trying to champion over here with the success of The Sign. The Sign isn't even on Happy Nation. They made it after the fact, and once that song was catching on over here, they retooled the album in question to fit that mold. And I think that it's an interesting sort of look at both projects individually. And honestly, when looking at both albums, they don't feel like album experiences. They feel like a pop group making bops and filling them out with some album fodder and remixes. The fact that remixes crop up on both official releases is kind of strange in a modern sense, but back in the 90s, I feel like that made a little more sense, but I kind of abandoned a lot of those in lieu of making just a good album-like experience out of this, which again, I'm going to be calling Happy Nation. My goal when bringing them together was to create sort of a harmonious marriage between the Europop-inspired stuff and the cod reggae-inspired stuff. And I feel like I definitely accomplished that. I like this version of the album that I pulled together today, and I hope that you do as well. My version is 46 minutes and 12 tracks long. Without further ado, let's show off the track listing and break down why I laid it out how I did.
Isn't that enough? I saw the sign, and it opened up my eyes. When she woke up late in the morning light, and the day had just begun. What you gonna tell your dad? It's like a wheel of fortune. What anyway you do it. I'm giving you my love. Give me that music, baby. I'll eternal lying in a drum. Voulez-Vous danser? I beg more. Don't turn around, 'cause you're gonna see my heart breaking. Don't turn.
Just chaos! Just chaos!
You're living your life in peace and in harmony. You're making your own decisions. Happy nation, living in a happy nation. Well,
Now, I start this album in a way that The Sign didn't start. People bought The Sign to hear The Sign, so I'm giving them The Sign up front. It's the sign of the album. It's a smash. It's a huge song. Easily the biggest song from this album. It's why they retooled it in general, so why not start with it? It's a huge track that's followed me throughout my entire life.
I got a new life.
I think that it's a 90s pop smash. And I follow it up with what the album starts with proper, All That She Wants, because it is a really good track to have early on in the track listing, and I think that it's a good follow-up to the sign while retaining that, again, we know what you came here for, you want some hits, before hitting you with another reggae-inspired song, but not a single, but it should have been, Wheel of Fortune. It's a song that stands out on both projects as a really good song, and I use that as sort of the finisher for this first leg of more reggae-inspired jams that people definitely would have come here for if they were in the West, at least. But after that, I kind of swerve and give you a different sort of three-hit combo of sorts by going into more Eurodance-inspired tracks, with Young and Proud, which was on the sign. It is a really good, buoyant, energetic dance track that goes really well, actually, into Waiting for Magic, a song that didn't end up on the sign, but was on the original Happy Nation. They did a remix of it on the sign that I don't think hits the energy of the album as a whole. I think the synth sounds in general fit the album that they gave us on the sign, so I'm kind of shocked they gave us a weird remix that I don't think is nearly as good. Before going into a track that I was shocked was on the sign, but is also a really good dance track with Voulez-Vous Danser. A good, again, Eurodance-ass Eurodance song with some Super Nintendo-style sounds being thrown into the instrumental. That whole intro just sounds like the start of Oh Yeah by Yellow, but like thrown into the early 90s, and I fucking love it. But I like the song. I think that, again, it's another really good Eurodance song to sort of carry the energy while not being quite as amped up as Waiting for Magic. But from there, I wanted the intro of Don't Turn Around to slice through that Eurodance energy like a freshly sharpened blade. I think that the intro of the song slides in really well after Voulez-Vous Danser and puts you right back into that reggae-inspired atmosphere for another bona fide bop, before swiftly throwing you back into the Eurodance-inspired groove with Moogoperator and Munchhausen Just Chaos. Moogoperator was a bonus track on the original Happy Nation, and Munchhausen ended up on both, and I like that it sort of adds a little more to the Eurodance atmosphere, similarly to Moogoperator. I use this as sort of a pocket to sort of branch out in those Eurodance tendencies and to play with different sounds that I think they do really well. I like Moogoperator, and I think that the intensity of Just Chaos ramps it up really well before setting you in a dangerous realm with Living in Danger. And I think that, again, similarly to Don't Turn Around, the energy of Living in Danger just swells in really well from Just Chaos. And I think that, like, the more male prominent vocals on both tracks lend themselves to a nice little pocket on here. And keeping in line with this sort of ebb and flow of both energies, I go from Living in Danger back into the dance realm with Fashion Party, a song that, again, has some synths that just stand right up front. And it's a song about just keeping the energy high and keeping a party rocking. And it's a good sort of last call sort of moment when the synths really get at their peak techno sounding. That sort of helps pivot those dangerous tendencies from the last couple songs, or that sort of intense energy, into a little more of a livelier realm. It's a track that, again, didn't end up on the sign, but unlike some of the other ones that I've injected on here from Happy Nation, it kind of makes sense why. The energy of this definitely doesn't feel like it's in line with the energy on the sign. The synth tones and stuff don't match that energy, but I feel like it's a really great dance track in spite of that. It also helps reinforce the sort of meta pacing of the album where both the Eurodance and the reggae pop sounds drift further apart. I experiment more with the dance ideas throughout this pocket of the record, so with the penultimate track being this more on the nose, even more upfront, strictly dance song, kind of makes sense given it fades right into the title track. I closed the album with how it should have closed on either one of the prospects, the title track. If you're going to give this album this sort of ebb and flow energy, closing it on the mellow but poignant title track that still has a little bit of that foreboding energy dancing into the sunset just felt the most right, you know? And even though I'm not calling the album The Sign, I think bookending it with both title tracks felt right as well, you know what I mean? That's my version of Happy Nation / The Sign, depending on how you look at it. As far as the tracks that I scrapped off of the album in particular, outside of the remixes and alternate versions that are on both, because for obvious reasons, again, I was trying to make this more of like an album-ass album. Tracks like Dancer in a Daydream, which are on both, or Dimension of Depth, which is on Happy Nation, or Mr. Ace, which is a bonus track from The Sign. I just don't think any of those songs really do anything extravagantly better than the songs that I kept. And if we're talking like any sort of lyrical depth, there's not much of that here. It just feels like a pop album meant to get the people going, and that was my whole mission statement, to get the people going and keep them going until the project ends, you know? Did you like it? Did it make sense to you? If you'd like to listen to it for yourself, there is a Spotify and YouTube link linked in the description. If you did like this, give it a like. If you want to see more, consider subscribing. I drop 2 to 4 vids a week, depending on what I've got going on. I hope you did enjoy this, and if you did, thank you so much for watching. I'm going to go. I've been Viral Rack. You guys have good days, lives, and situations, and I'll see you another day.